The trolls with PhDs, defenders of the scientific orthodoxy. In the modern landscape of scientific discourse, a troubling phenomenon has emerged: the rise of the so-called trolls with PhDs. These individuals, armed with advanced degrees and academic credentials, position themselves as the gatekeepers of scientific knowledge. They lurk in the shadows of academic institutions, online forums, and media platforms, ready to pounce on anyone who dares to challenge the prevailing orthodoxy, the doctrines put forth by the high priests of science. The result is a chilling effect on open inquiry and debate, where those who question or dissent are swiftly labeled as heretics or enemies of the scientific establishment. The rise of the academic trolls. The trolls with PhDs are not the scientists of old, the explorers, the skeptics, the truth-seekers who challenged established beliefs and expanded our understanding of the world. Instead, they represent a new breed of academic enforcers whose primary role is to protect the status quo. They defend the scientific consensus with a fervor that resembles religious zeal, rather than engaging in the healthy skepticism and rigorous debate that are the hallmarks of true scientific inquiry. These trolls are often found in positions of influence within academia and media. They use their platforms not to promote open dialogue, but to silence dissent. With their credentials, they wield a form of intellectual authority that can be intimidating to the uninitiated. They often employ ad hominem attacks, dismissing opponents as anti-science, deniers, or conspiracy theorists, rather than engaging with the substance of their arguments. Enforcing the hierarchy of science. At the core of this new scientific order is a rigid hierarchy, where certain theories and ideas are placed above others, not necessarily because of their empirical validity, but because they align with the prevailing narrative. Those who challenge these ideas, whether they are about climate change, public health, or other contentious topics, are seen not as contributors to a vital debate, but as threats to the established order. To go against the system is to invite swift retribution from the trolls with PhDs. They act as the enforcers of the hierarchy of science, a priesthood that tolerates no dissent. They protect the sanctity of the science, a monolithic entity that brooks no questioning and no criticism. This hierarchy is less about discovery and more about maintaining control over what is considered acceptable knowledge. The dangers of intellectual conformity. This atmosphere of intellectual conformity stifles innovation and creativity. In a world where the trolls with PhDs rule, the scientific method is replaced by dogma, and evidence-based inquiry is supplanted by ideological enforcement. The fear of reprisal leads many scientists to self-censor, avoiding topics or conclusions that might provoke the wrath of the hierarchy. This is not how science is supposed to function. Real science thrives on debate, disagreement, and the relentless pursuit of truth, no matter how uncomfortable or inconvenient it may be. The greatest scientific breakthroughs have often come from those who dared to challenge the prevailing wisdom, who refused to accept the so-called consensus, and instead pushed the boundaries of what we know. The path forward, reclaiming true scientific inquiry. To counter the rise of the trolls with PhDs, we must reclaim the true spirit of scientific inquiry. This means fostering an environment where dissent is not only tolerated but encouraged. It means recognizing that questioning the status quo is not an act of heresy, but a necessary component of progress. Science should not be a rigid hierarchy with high priests and dogmas. It should be a dynamic field open to new ideas, new evidence, and new interpretations. The trolls with PhDs may try to silence those who disagree, but their efforts will ultimately fail if we remember that science is not about authority, but about evidence and reason. To restore the integrity of science, we must resist the urge to conform and instead embrace the uncertainty, complexity, and wonder that lie at the heart of genuine scientific exploration. Only then can we ensure that science remains a beacon of knowledge and discovery, rather than a tool of control and oppression.